It's Parm King, and I'm really excited to bring to you another guide of Curse of Strahd. This one is the Vallaki Vistani Camp, just outside the village of Vallaki. I got two special events and some additional lore woven into this. Now, I'm broadcasting right now from my laptop, my camera setup. I'm staying in a Airbnb, kind of in between places, but I'm still pumping out the content, so never fear. Before we get started, a huge thank you to my Patreon members. It's your support allows me to put these detailed guides, video guides together. And for you Patreon members, all of these guides I put into detailed PDF form. And for the Foundry players, if you don't want to do all the work here yourself, I do everything you see here, create a Foundry module that you can go ahead and download and enjoy this game in this session with all the special content in Foundry. Now, if you want to become a Patreon member, there's a link down below to patreon.com/ParmKing. Now, a couple special shout-outs before we get going. DM Andy creates all the gorgeous battle maps that you're going to see here. Now, these battle maps, I'm using them in Foundry, but if you're playing on a tabletop or another virtual tabletop system, you can use his maps that come in grid, non-grid, various weather effects. Check out his Patreon. His link is down below. In addition, James RPG Art is very gracious to let us use one of his WebP gorgeous digital static images here. I use those for Theater of the Mind maps in Foundry. He does make them in high resolution and animated versions. I'm a Patreon member of his as well. Highly recommend the animated ones. His link is down below in the description. And last but not least, it's Blair and the Scene Packer module. These videos, along with the Foundry modules, would not exist without Blair and his Scene Packer module. If you're interested in making your own adventure module for Foundry, check out Blair and his Patreon page. There's a link, again, down below in the description. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're opening up here with this gorgeous Theater of the Mind map by James RPG Art. And as we look and enjoy this great image of his, by the way, this is not the animated vision, this is the static one. I've just put a little bit of lighting effect in there. If you zoom in closely, you can see I got a little bit of lights going on here, a little flickering the lights to give it a little bit of a flair. Highly recommended his animated ones. Now, I wanted to start off the video to talk a little bit about the Vallaki Vistani versus the Tesser Pool Vistani. So there's two Vistani camps, one with Madame Ava near the Tesser Pools, and the way I look at it, or the way I'm playing it, is that the Tesser Pool Vistani are the more friendly Vistani. They're more kind of ambivalent and neutral to Strahd. Secretly, they'd rather see Strahd not in power, and we'll learn more about that through future modules. There's a big kind of surprise later on I'm excited to tell you about. In addition, that Vistani clan is related to Leo. If you watch the Walker House module, and you'll realize they know a secret entrance into Ravenloft. Now, the Vistani clan in Vallaki, however, well, they're allies with Strahd. In fact, they spy for Strahd. They're involved in more nefarious activity, the black market, thefts, murder, extortion. Zintori, who's a new Vistani who I added to the campaign, he shows up in a couple of previous modules, the gates at Barovia, as well as the stockyard. He is from this camp. In addition to this camp, to the Vistani, we're going to have the Dusk Elves here too, and I've expanded on some of their background lore and woven them further into the campaign. I'm excited to share it with you. In addition, there's two special events here. I really wanted to have some more interactive role-playing going on here, and I think you guys are going to like the two special events. Well, I hope you do. So I like to start off with the Theater of the Mind map. We were approaching this. It's a common frame of reference. We can start role-playing right away. You can see up on the hill, we've got the Vistani tent with the barrel wagons surrounding it. There's some horses up there. And then around this hill, you have these hovels, these little houses in here. Now, the Vistani Vallaki are living outside of Vallaki because the Burgermeister has a decree, an open decree, that Vallaki are not allowed, and neither are the Dusk Elves, in Vallaki. Now, the truth is, and everybody knows this, is that Isaac, Ernst, Hanuck Halflinger, which is the Wainwright in town, the Coffin Maker, all secretly deal with the Vistani. The Vistani sneak in at night, and there's some black market activity. The reality of it is if you want wine, if you want to trade goods, if you're going to do anything outside your village, you're going to have to engage with the Vistani, and the Vistani know that. So it's an unsaid, weird, black market relationship with the Vistani. Openly, they don't walk around in the streets of Vallaki. You will not see them. At night, or maybe in the slums, or in the shadows, they may show up. And we already learned about that if you've read the Stockyard or seen the Stockyard module. So we're going to jump right into the first map here, and that's the Vistani Camp. This is a gorgeous map here by DM Andy. This is a whopper of a map. It's a 60 by 60 grid map. It's got the whole thing in there. We're going to zoom in, and we're going to talk about first up on the hill and the tent and what's going on with the tent. So the first thing is we have this tent in the middle, and I'll cover that in a second. Around the outside of the tent, you're going to see some horses here. And what I've done is the rules as written has something like 24 some odd horses around. It was a little too much. I thought the horses you see over here with no saddles on them, these are actually actors. You can move them. These are the draft horses on the outside. And DM Andy made some unique horses, which I really like. So I made these the riding horses. So I have 6 riding horses. They're Vistani horses, but there's 2 unique ones. I thought it'd be kind of fun. We have the white horse that's the leader of the Vistani here, Luvash's horse, and his younger brother, Arrigal's horse here. So they're out here on the outside of the tent with the other Vistani horses. Now, these are riding horses. Their saddles are right near them. If they need to jump on their horses for a ride, these are the ones that they're going to jump on. These other big horses out here, these are the ones that pull the wagons. They're kind of the burden draft larger horses, and they're around the outside of here. Now, the other thing you're going to notice up on the hill is you've got the barrel wagons all the way around. There's 2 fires going on. Around these fires, you're going to see a couple of Vistani here on both these fires. And the barrels come in 3 different flavors. The barrel wagons do. They come in wagons with some sleeping Vistani in it. They come with some ones with Vistani that are awake. They're kind of gambling and telling stories. And then there's some family wagons. So let's cover each one of those. These sleeping wagons, right? If you approach one of the sleeping wagons and listen in, you're going to hear some snoring echoing from inside. There's a 1d4 sleeping Vistani. It's a combination of men or women in there. And if you shake the wagon or try to get in, if they take any damage, the alarm is sound, they will wake. They'll be disoriented for a little bit, but they'll wake up there in the sleeping wagons. The next one is the gambling wagons. And what I did here, I'll just show you here with my notes, is the gambling wagons, I put them near the fire. So there's a gambling wagon there near the fire. These are the little notes here. There's another one here. The gambling wagons contain 3 Vistani men and or women. You can mix that up. They're playing some dice games, telling stories, having a good time in there. If the alarm sounds, they will immediately have weapons drawn and show up at the main tent. The last wagon, which I kind of put them over on the side over here, those are the family wagons. The family wagons, you'll hear sounds of children. They'll be laughing and giggling, maybe a couple of screams in there. In the Vistani, there's going to be 1 adult, male or female, 1d4 plus 1 Vistani kids in there, and the adults telling them stories, maybe a spooky story, or playing some games with them. Now, if the alarm is sound, or if the wagon shaked, or if the Vistani adult becomes suspicious, they'll immediately have their weapon drawn, leave the wagon, shut and lock the wagon, telling the children to lock the wagon behind them. The children in there are very good at stealth, and they will hide. Now, those are the 3 main wagons, but let's talk about the 3 Vistani we just covered in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to bring them up here. We've got the Vistani woman, the Vistani man. I'll bring them over here, and we got the Vistani child. We'll cover the Vistani child first. The Vistani child is a common villager, stat block, 4 hit points. I lowered everything to 8 except for dexterity and charisma. I made them 12. I gave them proficient in deception and super proficient in stealth. I mean, these are kids. They're Vistani kids. And in my mind, the Vistani kids are told 2 things. Number 1, when there's a questionable situation, hide. So they're really good at hiding. These kids probably play hide and seek better than any kid you can possibly imagine. Number two, if you're confronted with somebody, a stranger, you need to deceive them and get away. So it's stealth, but if you get caught, deceive them and get away. Now, the children have one weapon on them. They have a dart. They can use a dart to stab something, or they can throw the dart. So they will not attack unless they are backed up against the wall. I mean, they're going to flee first. They're going to hide. If they're caught, they're going to try to deceive you. And if you're hostile to them, that is the only time that they have some dart hidden in their clothing that they'll pull out to either jab you and run away or throw the dart at you and run away. But they will not engage in combat. The only time they'll attack is as a distraction, attack you so they can get away. The Vistani male, on the other hand, I boosted them up. They're a bandit. I boosted their hit points up to 16. Strength is 14. They're not too intelligent, but they're pretty good animal handlers. They're dealing with horses a lot, and they can intimidate, and they're pretty good at survival. Now, they have the short sword, like crossbow, and leather armor. And, you know, you get 6 or 7 of them, they're going to be kind of formidable, right? They're going to work together. They're pretty good fighters. They know what they're doing, right? They're not just idiot bandits. They're pretty good at raiding and some tactical stuff, especially in the camp. They know the camp better than you do, or better than their players do. So they're going to be able to operate in and around the camp pretty effectively. The last one is the Vistani woman, and in my opinion, she can be the most deadly of all of them. And I'll tell you why. While she only has 11 hit points compared to 16 and only 10 strength, she has a dexterity of 14. She's very intelligent compared to the men, and she's got a big charisma score. And what I did was she has deception of +4, she has persuasion +4, sleight of hand +4, stealth, in performance +6. And you're going to see why in the special events, the Dordi Doosta, which is this dance. She also has 3 darts hidden on her. And the way she uses those 3 darts, if she goes into combat, she's going to use one like a dagger, and the other 2 she can throw. So she'll throw 2 once she keeps on her. She's going to be, I imagine her as being very dexterous, very, very agile. She is, not going to get into hand-to-hand combat. She's going to use like one of the darts as kind of a melee weapon to back off through the darts. But she's also going to be the one that you're going to have to be most careful around, because if something's going to get stolen or they're going to be manipulative, right? She's got all the angles down. She's going to be able to figure it out, where the guys are more kind of just trying to be intimidating guys. So this is kind of how I imagine the children, the men, and the women that you have in this camp, the Vistani camp, and the 3 wagons around there. Now, there are 2 specialty wagons. So all the wagons are one of the 3 variety, except for these 2 here. We have the treasure wagon and Luvash's wagon. And I want to get to those in a second after we cover what's going on in this main tent. So let's bring up the main tent. We're going to zoom into the main tent and take a detailed look at what's going on here. So when you step into the main tent, you're going to see right away, the players are going to see that there are a bunch of Vistani in there. We've got 3 males, 3 females, and then there's some 3 unique males. And when they get close to the tent, they're going to hear like somebody getting beaten, pretty severely. And when they peek their head into the tent, in the center pole of the tent, there's a guy here. He's tied up to the pole, and this big Vistani, this brute, this is Luvash, is just kind of pounding him, just beating on him and yelling at him. And the other guy over here, this is Arrigal, Luvash's brother, is like, hey, brother, calm down a little bit. This guy that's tied to the post, his name is Alexei. He's a no name. He's like if you watch Star Trek, he's a red shirt. It doesn't really matter. But Luvash is just pounding on him. Now, the players are going to try to ascertain what's going on, and you might want to role play a little bit with Luvash saying, "You kept your eyes. You're supposed to keep your eyes on my daughter. You let her get away. She's been kidnapped. You fool. You got drunk." And he's just pounding on him. What's actually transpired is the guy that's tied to the pole, Alexei, was supposed to watch Luvash's daughter. And he got drunk or wasn't paying attention, the girl ran away or was kidnapped and she's now missing. And Luvash is just beside himself. That's why he's punishing this guy. Now, if the players decide to intercede and say, hey, don't hit him, or try to protect the Vistani that's getting beaten up, the Vistani beaten up will tell the players to back off because, this is their culture, and he thinks he deserves to get beaten up. Luvash isn't going to kill him. He's just, not totally beating the crap out of him, but he's humiliating him, slapping around. I mean, there's probably a couple of he's gonna walk away with some bruised ribs and some black eyes for letting his daughter get away. But this is their tradition. This is how they deal with punishment, and he's doing it around some other Vistani, probably some higher level members of the clan, to kind of intimidate him, to make him feel like an idiot, to make him feel like he's screwed up majorly. So the one that's getting beaten up is going to tell the players back off because, if the players do defend him or whatever, it's going to make him look weak in his clan, and he can't have that. So if the players will overhear what's going on, Luvash will explain to the players, hey, my daughter's been kidnapped or something. And if they ask where he thinks his daughter is, he's only going to be able to give them 2 answers. She's been missing for a day. She sometimes sneaks into Vallaki. We know we're not allowed to go to Vallaki. And she likes to go to the potion shop and hang out with Anya. Anya is part Vistani. And so she likes to talk to Anya. Or she goes to the lake. Now, the daughter is Arabelle. You probably already know her. She is the little girl that has been kidnapped by Pluto in the Lake Zarovich module, where Pluto's going to throw over the side. You might even have the Gitrog get her and take her back to his lair, and where you have to go rescue Arabelle from the Gitrog. So if the players show up and they have not rescued Arabelle, in fact, they don't even know anything about Arabelle, if they show up at that point, that's what's playing out. Alexi's getting beaten up. Luvash is beside himself. He's upset. His daughter's missing. That's all he's focusing on. And he's going to ask the players, help find my daughter. Half the camp is out looking for this girl, right? She's been missing. And this is the leader of the camp's daughter. So this is a big deal for the Vistani camp. Now, the guy that's next to him that's telling him to calm down is this guy right here. This is Arrigal, Luvash's younger brother. And his stat block is that of an assassin, right? He's got a short sword, crossbow. He has a vicious dart. I gave that to him. Multi-attack, sneak attack. He's kind of more of a sinister bad guy than his brother. He, unlike his older brother, is a faithful servant of Strahd. In fact, he is Strahd's best spy among all of Vistani, right? And Arrigal uses the guy next to him, Zintori, as his henchman. So if Arrigal needs something done, he asks Zintori to do it. A raid, extortion, stealing, murder, whatever it is, Zintori is like, his capo. Hey, I need you to go do this. Zintori goes and does this. And Zintori has his little gang of Vistani that does his deeds for him. Now, Arrigal's going to size up the players, and if he feels the players are a threat to Strahd, or if they have a particular item on them that might be of interest to Strahd or might be a threat to Strahd, Arrigal's going to try to get that item away, or get that item from the player and return that item to Strahd and report to Strahd what's going on. Now, how is Arrigal going to get that item from the players? There's one of 3 ways. He could challenge the players to a Chingary, which I'm going to cover. That's one of the special events. That's the knife fight, a Chingary, and where both players make a stake. They make a stake for the fight, and the stake is what you're fighting over. In which case, Arrigal's stake is going to be whatever item is he thinks is going to be of Strahd's interest. He could have one of the female Vistanis during the Dordi Doosta dance, steal the item from the players. Because remember, I showed you the women are really good. Vistani women have really good sleight of hand for pickpocketing and lifting stuff. Or his other option is to ask Zintori to shadow the players, follow them outside of the Vistani camp when they leave, and obtain that item by any means necessary. So those are 3 different ways. You might come up with your own way that Arrigal is going to try to get that item if the players have an item, and if Arrigal becomes aware of that item. The third guy in the tent is Zintori, and this is an NPC that I added. He has a bandit captain stats. He is good at acrobatics, athletics, deception, and persuasion. He has a short sword and a dagger. He does a multi-attack. This is Arrigal's henchman, and there is a chance, if you've been using the modules, my Curse of Strahd modules, that the players might have already run into Zintori. Zintori is at the very start of the campaign. If you use the Gates of Barovia as your start, that alternative starts where they get to the Gates of Barovia, meet with the Vistani camp there, and the Vistani drug them and steal all their weapons, that's Zintori. He's the guy that does that. You know, he's always looking for an angle to steal something, to extort something. If your players didn't do that, they might have run him at the stockyard. Remember, Zintori is running his gang. He's also extorting Horik, the blacksmith apprentice, stealing the Vistani wine on the stockyard. There's actually the raid on the stockyard with Zintori leading his gang of Vistani in there. So there's chances are the players may have run in to Zintori already. Now, if that happens and if the players recognize him and they're going to go, if there's going to be a little bit of confrontation, Zintori won't let a fight break out. He will declare the Chingary, which is the challenge, before a fight breaks out. Nobody in the Vistani camp goes into combat. That's just not done in the camp. That's part of their unspoken word. We're not going to just break out into fight. You want to fight, you do the Chingary challenge. Now, let's back up for a second. If and when the players show up with Arabelle or rescue Arabelle, they're going to be welcome into the camp. When the players show up, obviously, if they've rescued Arabelle at that time, when they show up with her, Luvash is going to welcome them in. He's going to be very excited, and he's going to offer them a prize, a gift. And he's going to also, if the players haven't known about it, he's going to tell them, if you rescue my daughter, I have a gift for you, and here's how the gift works. There's a treasure, and I just mentioned that, the treasure wagon, which is right here. This is the treasure wagon. Let's look at the information on the treasure wagon. And the treasure wagon, the first thing is you're going to see this Vistani roaming around this one wagon. Compared to the other wagons, he's paying close attention. And this particular wagon has two huge padlocks on it. Each lock has a separate key, and each key is held by Luvash, and one key is held by his brother Arrigal. You'll need both keys to open up these locks. Now, there's a poison needle trap on both locks. So if you don't have the keys and you attempt to open the locks, you're going to trigger the poison needle trap if you don't detect it first. Or even if you do detect it and you try to deactivate the trap, if you fail doing that, you can get hit by this poison needle. The poison needle does 2d10 worth of poison damage. You need to do a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or be poisoned for 1 hour. The locks are DC 18 once you disable the poison needle trap. Now, what is in here? There are 4 boxes, and the Vistani culture, if they give you a gift of huge magnitude, like rescuing Arabelle, Luvash will say, you can choose one of the 4 boxes here. You can't look in any of the 4. Just pick one, and whatever one you pick, you get to keep whatever in it. And that's how they do it. So the players have no idea what's one of the 4, and the players get to decide which one they want. Now, there's a wooden chest, a large wooden chest. There's an iron chest. There's a small onyx box, and there's a small wooden box. And they can pick from any of the 4, and Luvash graciously gives them that box if they've rescued his daughter. Let's go through what's in each of these boxes. The first one, the wooden chest box, are 2d100 plus 50 Strahd gold coins. And I wanted to do something kind of fun with these gold coins here, and I'll probably go back and update all the modules with this. The Strahd gold coin is twice as big as a normal gold coin. It's worth 2 gold. The reason for this is he wanted to make sure the coin with his face on it was bigger than all the other gold coins. This is like an ego thing, right? And everybody accepts Strahd gold coins all over Barovia. Gold is gold. They're worth 2 gold instead of 1. They're just twice the size. It's a Strahd ego thing. Now, Strahd uses these coins in an unusual scrying mechanism. He can't scry on the individual coin in a way that he knows who has the coin or any of the thoughts or see what's going around. He just knows the location of the coin, right? And the reason he does that, it's this kind of low-level scrying, is he can keep track of the population and also, obviously, his money, or the gold coins, out throughout Barovia. And one of the reasons that Strahd does this, being paranoid like he is if there's troops massing against him, and he uses this kind of low-level scrying, he can see if people are marching on Ravenloft. If he sees and he can feel these coins coming towards him, he'll know that, and if he sees a lot of them and they're kind of scattered, he knows that there's some kind of army or a group of people marching on Ravenloft. So this is kind of like an early warning system for it. It's like a low-level scrying. He doesn't know who has the coins. He just kind of knows where they are and gives him an idea of movement of the peoples in the villages on there. So it's kind of a cool little thing going on. Really thought that was a neat little idea. So the one box, again, contains 2d100 plus 50 gold coins. If you're playing here in Foundry, I got it set up. You just roll this here, and it just tells you it's 159 gold coins. The next box is an iron chest, and it contains 3d100 plus 100 just normal gold coins. Just roll that there. You get 218 normal gold coins. The third box, a small onyx box, has this gold filigree with diamonds in it. Now, I didn't want to make this just, a piece of jewelry that was worth 1,500 gold, which it is, has diamonds in it. But there's an inscription on it. And if the players inspect it, they can read this description. It says, Lady Tasha Petrovna von Habsburg. Now, the gold filigree with diamonds was made for Lady Tasha as a gift for her wedding gift when she was marrying Falcon von Habsburg centuries ago, and she became the Queen of Barovia. Von Habsburg was king, and she ended up becoming the queen, who actually Strahd had killed. When Strahd came to in Barovia in the Great War, he killed her and ran and exiled and killed off the Habsburg family. Now, if the players make a connection that Lydia Petrovna, the Baroness of Vallaki, is the distant relative, and her brother, Father Petrovich, those are the distant relatives of the Queen of Barovia, and they bring this brooch to her, this gold filigree with diamonds, they will share with the players their greatest secret, which is the secret entrance into Ravenloft. Now, if you watch the Valkyr House video, and they bring the bones back to the Tesser Pool Vistani, and the book back to the Tesser Pool Vistani, the Vistani will share with them the secret entrance into Ravenloft. It's at the bottom of the cliff, bottom of Pillar of Ravenloft, down near the water. There's a secret cave, and that cave has a winding stone staircase that opens up into the crypts, into one of the crypts of Ravenloft. They know about that same entrance because the queen knew about that entrance from long before. So there's two ways that the players may find that secret entrance into Ravenloft. If they make that connection, they'll read the name on it, but the players will have to make that connection that Father Petrovich and the Baroness of Vallaki, brother and sister, are related to the queen, and bring this to them. They'll be grateful and tell them about the secret entrance. Otherwise, if they don't, it's worth 1,500 gold, and they can sell it. So it's interesting. You can fit that into your story or narrative however you desire. The last item, the last box, contains 12 of the Potions of Mist. Now, the Potions of Mist are these Vistani potions that the Vallaki Vistani make, and they sell them off to naive strangers and people, and supposedly they're going to tell you, well, if you drink this potion, you stand on the edge of the mist, or on the edge of Barovia, you drink this potion 1 hour before you want to go through the mist, you'll be able to travel through the mist and leave Barovia. It doesn't work. It actually makes you really sick. You start to vomit, you fall to your knees, you have to roll a Constitution saving throw DC 12, or you become poisoned for 24 hours. You become just it's like food poisoning. You just become vilely ill. Now, the reason that you have to take it, they say you got to take it 1 hour and you have to go to the edge of the mist before you take it, is they want to make sure you're far away from the Vistani camp before you drink this potion. If you come back and you give the Vistani a little shit saying, hey, it didn't work, I got really sick, they're going to go, well, maybe you just don't have the Constitution. Here, let me sell you another one. I'll sell it to you at half price. They'll never admit that it doesn't work. And so they keep that box of 12 of those. They sell them at 100 gold each. It smells kind of slightly foul, and it's got some green color in it, and it's really just some sick, nasty juice that gets you pretty violently sick. But, hey, Vistani are going to try to sell it to you. So those are the 4 boxes that are in the treasure wagon. The other wagon here that's right below it is the Luvash's wagon. And you're going to see, again, another Vistani walking around this wagon. It's the most decorated of all the barrel top wagons. It's the leader of the Vistani's wagon. If you do go inside the wagon, it's a mess. It's been kind of torn apart. Luvash tore the wagon apart, trying to find any evidence of his daughter who might have been kidnapped. The only thing that you'll find in the wagon in plain sight will be a Blinsky doll. It says no fun, no Blinsky. Obviously, it belonged to Arabelle. If they do search the wagon on DC 12, they'll notice that some of the floorboards will lift up. They'll find a small chest, unlocked chest with 1d50 plus 25 gold pieces in it that Luvash keeps for himself. So that's the only other treasure that you have in there. So that covers pretty much what's going on here. Now, we talked about the 2 special events. Either Zintori or Arrigal might challenge the players to the Chingary, which is this challenge kind of knife fight, and there's also the dance. So let's cover the knife fight and the dance, and then we'll jump on to the Dusk Elves. So I have a separate map here called the Clearing. We'll just jump to the Clearing map. Here we are here, and I'm just going to brighten this up just a little bit for you because I have it set kind of dark here with some lighting effects, which is okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so you have this ring here. We're going to do the Chingary first and tell you how this works. If the player is challenged to the Chingary, which is a challenge, the person that received the challenge can either submit to the wishes of the challenger or agree to the Chingary. Upon agreeing, they declare the stakes they wish to fight for if they win, and the challenger must accept the stakes, and then they declare their stakes, which is automatically accepted. Now, the stakes of the challenge, if the Vistani challenges the party itself, the whole party, maybe Zintori challenges the party decides who will speak for the party and accept the challenge. Only one person can accept the challenge. No other member of the party may negotiate the stakes as it's seen as a one-on-one challenge. If the player accepts the challenge, they will declare whatever stakes they are playing for to win. So remember, the Vistani challenge you to the Chingary. It's a knife fight. And you accept. And if you accept, you determine, first off, what the stakes are that you're willing to fight for. It could be gold. It could be a favor. It could be anything. Now, if you name your stakes, and don't submit. If you submit, and I'll talk about submitting, but if you name your stakes, now it's the Vistani who challenged you to name their stakes, right? It's important to note that the stakes are balanced always in the mind of the Vistani. If the player asks for 100 gold, the Vistani will declare their stakes of something they feel of equal value. It's a very eye for an eye, very equal stakes. So they're going to ask you, to challenge you, you determine the stakes, and they'll respond with their stakes that they believe is of equal value. It could be information. Maybe you want information. The Vistani challenges you. You say, okay, I accept the challenge. I want you to tell me, about Strahd, everything you know about Strahd, and the truth, no bullshitting. And the Vistani has to accept because they're the ones that made the challenge, and then they will make their stakes. And if you're asking for information, they might ask you to do a favor. Okay, I agree. If you win, I'll tell you about Strahd. But if I win, I need you to do a favor and deliver these things to Kresk or something like that. So the Vistani, as the game master, you're always going to, when the player calls the stakes, as the Vistani responding, your stakes are going to be of equal value, or what the Vistani would deem as equal value. Stakes may not include murder, and they may not include serious harm. In fact, if you do mention, well, I want you to murder somebody for me, or I want you to curse or create serious harm, the Vistani will immediately ask you to leave their camp, and no one in the Vistani camp will talk to you. They're going to believe that you've brought this kind of evil curse in there by asking somebody to be killed in what they consider this cultural challenge. They'll just be very offended if you use the word murder or cause serious harm. The Chingary is not ever used for that. Now, the challenge is risky because Chingary is a risky challenge because the stakes are declared after the challenge is accepted. Nobody knows what the stakes are. You declared on the Chingary a challenge. The person that's being challenged says, I accept, these are the stakes. And then the one that challenged you names the stakes. So the Vistani love this because the challenge of the stakes can be very high and unknown, but sometimes it results in a bluff or joke. Sometimes being challenged, the challenger might declare, the one that being challenged is like, well, yes, I accept the challenge for a mug of ale, and the Vistani will laugh, sure, we'll play for a mug of ale. So sometimes it can be very serious, and sometimes it can be just very lighthearted and foolish. Now, if you submit and don't accept, if you say, okay, I will submit, I do not want the challenge, you'd agree to whatever the challenger asks you to do. Again, it can't be murder or creating harm, but you're going to agree. You're going to forfeit your stakes, and you've automatically forfeited, and you're going to agree to whatever the challenger wants. They also will tattoo the symbol of the Chingary on you, if you've submitted, and it's like a shameful. It's like having the scarlet letter. And what's even worse is if you've been tattooed with it. If you're Vistani, if you've been tattooed with the Chingary tattoo, if you try to hide it in camp, it's even worse because people will make fun of you trying to even hide it. So you have to wear the tattoo with painful pride just to live among the Vistani. I mean, you've accepted it. You just got to accept the fact that you submitted to a Chingary and got tattooed, and got stamped, as a Chingary. So that's kind of how the whole game works. So how does this work? And let's go over the mechanics. Both sides declare the stakes. The two strip down to bare minimum closing. There's no armor, there's no weapons, and absolutely no magic. The Vistani men like to fight bare-chested. They will strip down to their bare chest. Vistani women will wrap their chest with like a very tight red cloth around their chest. They like the red. It shows blood and passion. Vistani men will fight. Women will fight men. Men will fight women. Women will fight women. It's very important to note the Chingary is a challenge of individuals. There's no age, sex, gender, anybody discrimination. It could be, a Dusk Elf versus a human, a Vistani versus a child. I mean, there is no discrimination. If you declare a Chingary against somebody, it happens, or you submit. So, it's a very, it's a soul versus soul issue. It's a personal issue. Everybody heads to this clearing, and in the clearing there's a ring. You can see the ring on the ground right here, right? The two opponents stand on opposite sides of the ring, and in the center of the ring, two knives are placed right in the center of the ring. Now, they may not enter the ring until the Vistani leader, or whoever's designated the leader of the Chingary, says you may do so, and then the players can rush towards the center. They grab the knives, and the first player to draw blood from the other player wins. This is not to the death. It's just, you got to nick the other person with your knife. You're not going to try to kill him. You might want to try to do some damage, but you're not going to kill him. First one that draws the blood wins, and the game ends. The fight's not to the death. It's just the first wound. That's it. Here's the rules. There's no armor, no weapons, no magic. Must stay in the circle. Now, if you stepped out of the circle or you're pushed out, everybody watching that's near you, within 5-foot radius of you, can kick, punch, and hit you, up to 3 people. So if you're kicked out near some of the Vistani and you trip out of the ring, all 3 of those Vistani that are near you, each one of them can punch, kick, or hit you. And this is part of the tradition. They'll do it to their own, right? The mechanics, this is how it works. Pretty simplistic. Both players, at the beginning, roll their attack roll. So the Vistani will roll their attack roll, you'll roll the attack roll. Whoever's higher goes first. Now, you can move. You can take any movement or action that is not an attack. You must run to the center and grab a knife. You have a maximum of 30 feet of movement. You must stay in the circle. You also have an attack. So you can move and attack just like normal D&D, but you only have 3 attack options. You can throw your knife, you can shove your opponent, or you can attack with the blade. If you throw your knife at the opponent's going to roll a dexterity save DC 10. If they fail to save, they're going to take the 1d4 damage from the knife. The game is over, and you've won. Now, if the opponent succeeds, the knife misses him and lands at the far edge of the circle behind him. It lands right on the edge of the circle, right behind him. If you decide to shove the opponent, if the opponent is 5 feet from you, you can decide as your action to shove them up to 15 feet. The opponent rolls a strength save. The DC is the shover's strength ability score. So if I'm the player and I have a strength of 16 and I'm going to shove the Vistani is going to make a strength saving throw, and the DC is going to be my ability score of 16. Now, if they fail, the opponent shoved up to 15 feet. If the opponent is pushed out of the circle, any of the bystanders, including the players or the Vistani, within 5 feet can kick, punch, or hit the opponent for 1d4 of damage, each one of them. The shover, on the successful shove, and if they shove their opponent out of the ring, on the next round, the person that did the shoving, getting the opponent out of the ring, is going to roll advantage on their attack roll. The last type of attack that you can choose from is attack with a blade. If you're within 5 feet of the opponent, you can attempt to stab or slice or cut the opponent. The opponent rolls a dex save DC 10. Failed save, they're going to take the 1d4 damage from the knife, and the game is over. So it's pretty simple. There's only 3 attacks you can do. If you think you want advantage the next turn, you don't think you're going to, you can just shove them out. You'll have advantage on the next turn. You might want to do that. If you threw your knife and you can't get to your knife, you might want to shove the opponent, right? You've thrown it, you missed, you're going to charge forward or do something or run away. Your next turn, you might need to shove the opponent, run to get your knife, so that you can attack and get the advantage next turn. So you got to figure out little tactics and strategy. Now, if both players do not draw any blood during the round, a new round begins, they roll their attack rolls, and you go through the same sequence again. The Vistani will cheer and jeer as the game is played. If either opponent, the Vistani or one of the players, fall out of the circle near one of the Vistani, they will punch, kick, and hit them for 1d4 damage, even if it's their own Vistani. This is part of the game. The Vistani enjoy it. It's like teasing and hazing the player that has fallen out of the circle. Players are encouraged to do the same. Now, what you can see here on the circle, I have like 3 Vistani on the 4 quadrants of the circle. So if one of the players or the Vistani falls outside the circle, these 3 Vistani here can, the 3 closest to them within 5 feet, maybe only one's close, and they can kick or punch them for 1d4 worth of damage. And it's kind of, it's mostly for intimidation, maybe a little black and blue, a little black eye. It's hazing and teasing. This is the Vistani way. So that's the Chingary challenge. Again, this may happen from Zintori, or it could happen from Arrigal himself, or it could happen from another Vistani who you've kind of upset or pissed off. So that is the Chingary. Let's talk about the dance here. Now, if the players are invited to the dance, here's the Dordi Doosta. Now, again, the Chingary and the Dordi Doosta, these are Romani words. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing them. Dordi Doosta, I believe, means moon dance. The players will be asked to participate in the dance of the moonlight called the Dordi Doosta. Now, this will happen if they've brought Arabelle back, or if Arabelle's been rescued and they visit later on in the campaign. You can run this however you want to run it. It's just a really fun encounter. Now, the players will be watching the Vistani dance here in the circle, and one of the players, random player, will be selected to dance with one of the Vistani, right? And the way this works is the Vistani you can roll to randomly determine which player, and the dance is a responsive one. The Vistani will lead the dance, and the player must follow the lead. There are 5 rounds. Now, each time a player scores equal to or greater than the Vistani's performance, the player scores 1 point. Now, what happens is the Vistani rolls a performance check at the beginning of the round, and this sets the DC the player must meet or beat to get a point. So imagine Vistani, she's dancing, and this is why the Vistani women here, I'll just show you real quickly, have high performance rating. So this is the way it would work. So the Vistani would roll her performance check, just a normal performance. It's 9. It's not a very high one. The player needs to roll a 9 or higher. If the player rolls a 9 or higher, they get a point. So the Vistani did this dance. The player was able to follow the Vistani in the Vistani dance. The next round, the Vistani will roll another performance. Gosh, she's not rolling very well. And that's another 9. Next one, they're going to do another one, 12. And so there's 5 of them. Each time the player, man, this is just crazy. These are 9s. Holy bejesus, these are just horrible rolls. This Vistani maybe should be rolling advantage. Bam. She's the worst dancer. Nobody dances with her. This is Hildegard Humperdinck. She's not a very good dancer. She's got 2 left feet. There you go. Maybe she's dancing a little bit better right now. So anyway, Hildegard Humperdinck, the 2 left foot Vistani dancer, wasn't dancing very well. The way that this works is that the player, the Vistani, through the performance DC, performance check, sets the DC for the player. The player has to roll to match or beat it. If the player gets 1 point for each time they do it, up to 5 points. Now, at the end of the dance, every point the player earns 1 advantage on any one of the following ability checks when in the Vallaki Vistani Camp. They get to only use the advantage once for each point that they have. So if you get 3 points, you're going to get 3 advantages that you can use in the Vistani Camp. Once you use one of them, then you only have 2 left, then 1 left, and then none. So you can use it for deception, insight, investigation, perception, performance, or persuasion. Those are the only type of ability checks that you can use advantage on. So, if you're successful dancing, you can get some free advantages, and that might be worthwhile as you're exploring around the Vistani Camp, right? Now, if you score 3 or more points out of the 5, the Vistani will be very happy, and they're going to give you a random gift. And I have a treasure gift here, right here, treasure gift table. I'll show you that. Really cool. So this is a treasure gift, and these are random treasures that I created, Vistani treasures. Kind of fun. They're all magical. Some of them are not so, some of them are going to be, Okay, so let's check them out. So I'm going to have to put a lock on here, and that was the Vistani Cloak. So let's show you. The Vistani Cloak is this here, and it requires attunement. You gain +1 bonus to your AC and saving throws while you wear this cloak, and you're immune to Vistani curses when wearing this cloak. So that's the Vistani Cloak. This is in secret DM notes. I turned off the details, so the players won't know until you tell the player what it is. I want to keep these kind of a secret. Let's check out the next one here. And the next one we have the Battle Axe of Unique Quality. This is a pretty cool one. This battle axe says you gain 1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. In addition, while you're attuned to this weapon, your hit point maximum increases by 1 for each level you have. But this battle axe is cursed. This is actually a berserker battle axe. And you're going to have to, it's going to be, you're going to need to remove curse to get rid of this battle axe. So this is actually a cursed battle axe. You're going to only use this battle axe. You can't use any other weapons. You can at disadvantage. The next one is this one called the Vistani Night Blade. It's a strange writing. It's decorated on the blade. The blade handle is made of bone and leather. The blade has been cursed against the walking dead. The blade does an additional 1d4 damage against zombies and skeletons. It's called the Vistani's Night Blade. So it's a regular dagger, but does an additional 1d4 damage against zombies and skeletons. Kind of cool. We got the next one here is the Breastplate of Unique Strength. This again is a haunting breastplate. This is really cool. I made this one up. The armor is reinforced with adamanite or adamanine, some kind of hard metal. So any critical hit against you is normal. It's a pretty good AC 14. However, the previous owner of the armor haunts the player who wears the armor. The GM will roll a 1d20. On a 15 or greater, the ghost of the armor appears and will attack the character wearing the armor. So I have this ghost here. This ghost will appear This is a ghost. It's got some ghostly features here. This ghost of the armor will appear when the player is sleeping, right? If the player is sleeping wearing this armor, the game master during the long rest will roll the 1d20. If it's a 15 or greater, the ghost appears and will attack. Let's go ahead and see if the ghost appears. Check it out. I'm going to roll 1d20. If it's 15 or higher, nope. So the ghost is not appearing. Oh, there he goes. Appears on a 17. The ghost will appear. You're going to go right into combat between the ghost and the player wearing this armor. Now, if you kill the ghost will appear, can appear again and again and again and again. As long as you roll 15 or higher, you can kill the ghost, but the ghost will continue to appear. Now, if the player does not wear the armor at night, then you don't roll. The ghost will not appear. Don't explain this mechanic to the player. Just roll. I mean, this is a great one of those things. I really like not telling the players what's going on. So I just do this roll, kind of a private GM roll, or you can do it public or whatever, private GM roll, while they're doing a long rest, and you go, this ghost appears, and the player wearing the armor, don't tell the player, because you're wearing armor, don't say that. Just the player that is wearing the armor goes, okay, you wake, there's a ghost hovering over you, and roll for initiative, and all of a sudden you're in combat with the ghost. The other players have to determine if they wake up or not. You don't want to know. You don't want the party to know why the player woke up. You don't want the player to know why he woke up. You don't know why the ghost is attacking this particular player. You want the players to kind of figure this out. So this armor is haunted. I think it's a really fun and cool mechanic. Let's check out the next one. I got two more in here. I've got the Amulet of Thoughts. This is a Vistani amulet. You feel the thoughts and intentions, friendly, hostile, or neutral. That's what you feel on of one creature once per day that you can see. So you wear this amulet, and you can feel if you can feel the intentions and the thoughts. You can only feel, is this a friendly? Is it hostile or neutral? So at the time, you can know the intentions of one creature once per day. The amulet is cursed, and becoming attuned to it, it extends the curse to you. As long as you remain cursed, you are unwilling to part with the amulet. You roll disadvantage on deception and disadvantage on charisma saves. Deception checks and disadvantage on charisma saves. You need remove curse to remove this amulet. So it's a cursed amulet. And the last but not least is the magic arrow. And this is really cool. I like the magic arrow. The magic arrow does additional damage to a creature who's struck by the arrow. The archer using the arrow must attune and charge the arrow with their own blood. So if the arrow hits the target makes a DC 15 Constitution saving throw, taking extra 6d10 damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Now, if the arrow is retrieved, the archer who wishes to recharge the arrow may do so by cutting the palm and dripping their own blood on the head of the arrow. The ritual causes 1d6 worth of damage to the archer who wishes to use and recharge the arrow. So you must cut your palm and drip your own blood on the arrowhead, taking 160 worth of damage to charge this magic arrow. That's how it works. I really like this. So these are the 6 magical items, strange items, that if you win the dance, what happens is, as I just said, you're going to draw from the table. The Vistani cheer and surround you. You're a true Vistani. Please take this gift as a token of our friendship. So you've danced. You've proven that you're welcome into the Vistani camp, and they're going to give you a random one of these 6 items. So it's a really kind of fun encounter. Now, there's a couple of things that I also did with this. There's a musical artist I really like named Adam Hurst. He plays the Spanish guitar and the cello, and I've put his music in here. I've also credited him in here. I'll just show you the Vistani camp. Here's his music. So when this is going on, you can play some of this music. This is his music. I don't know if you can hear it. I thought it was kind of appropriate for the dance. So I got 2 of his songs in here. Here's the other one. I'll play the other one here. It's the Night Dance. I like this one too. So you can play this while they're doing the dance. So you have a slow one, and you have a fast one. So they're doing the dance, and you have this music going on. You're rolling perception. She's rolling her performance check, and you're dancing, and you're going to try to match her performance. You're going to roll your performance check to see if you can get that point. You can match her in her quality of her dance. You got the music going on, so you can have a really good time role playing with this. Now, in addition, I found this really fun song, and I credited her, Melanie Apple's Bardic Inspiration. She wrote a song as if the Vistani were singing it about Strahd, and so I've added in here and actually put the words in here. There's a link back to her YouTube page here, and I've got the words in here as well. I think it's really good, and I imagine at the end of the evening, after all the drinking and music and eating and the fun time the Vistani are having, the women sit around the fire as the embers are burning down, and they sing this song here. I'll just play this for you here. I don't know if you can hear it. I'll turn it up a little bit. So I put those in there for you. I'll make sure that it gets a little louder. I don't know why it's not as loud as it should be. So I got all the words in there. So I got some cool music. That's the Dordi Doosta Vistani dance out there. And you've got the Chingary out here on this little map. So let's jump back to the Vistani camp. We're going to jump down and talk about the elves now. Now you've got these six hovels around them. The 6 of them are empty, and the only one that has anything really going on is the one at the bottom, and that's Kasimir's hovel. So the other Dusk hovels are empty. There's a cloaked figure standing near them. I've got the Dusk Elves right here. Let me just show you. Where are they? There's the Dusk Elves right there. They have a rapier and a dagger, chainmail. And there's one at each one guarding. They're not going to let the players into those other empty ones. They're there guarding them. All the other Dusk Elves are away helping Luvash look for her daughter. But the important one is the one here at the bottom. There's 3 Dusk Elves here. And in here, you're going to have Kasimir. Now, Kasimir is an important character in here, and he's going to tell you the story of what's going on with the Dusk Elves. So I put this thing together here. I thought it was really cool. I wanted to weave him and the Dusk Elves deeper into the whole lore, the Fanes of Barovia and Strahd. So there's 3 cloaked figures hanging out. They'll let you in there. And Kasimir is going to take his time to size up the players a little bit. He wants to know what the players' intents are. Now, if the players tell them that they're an enemy of Strahd, they're intent on destroying Strahd, Kasimir will breathe a sigh of relief, and he's going to tell the players this. And I wrote a little story in here. I think I'm going to read it to you because I think it's important. It tells kind of an important backstory and lore. And I'm going to try to do Kasimir's voice. I don't even know how he speaks. I can imagine sitting him around the fire. Well, we've allied with the Druids and Argynvost during the Great War against the Dark Prince Strahd. We were few in numbers, but fearless warriors. Strahd's army invaded our small village in the mountains. They held our women and children hostage if we would not stand down. We surrendered in shame, and he burnt our villages and allowed us to scavenge for what we could. Our kind are not welcomed of those who pray to the Morning Lord in the villages. They call us the evil ones because we are different. We created a small village by the river Luna. For centuries we lived there after the war and kept to ourselves. We traded with Vistani and, lived a peaceful life. That was until Strahd returned and captured my sister. He turned her into one of those vampire brides. I could not let her suffer such a terrible fate, nor would I wish she to live one. I spent months tracking her movements, and on one evening, while she was traveling to Ravenloft in Strahd's carriage, I struck, and swiftly I did. I ran the carriage off the road with the heaviest of hearts. I staked my dear sister. I could see in her eyes her pleading for me to do so, for she did not want to live a life of a vampire or as Strahd's bride. She knew that Strahd had burned our village and vanquished our people. Strahd took vengeance upon my small camp after I killed my sister. He killed every woman, slitting their throats, and every young girl was drowned in the river. Then Kasimir pulls back his hair in his cowl, and he shows that one of his ears is missing, and he says, "He stood above me. He sliced my ear off and held it in front of me. Then he whispered into the sliced ear, 'I know you can hear me, and hear me well. You will live a long, miserable life, knowing that it was you that ended your kind. No woman shall ever live to bear a child of your kind again.' And he tossed my ear to the ground. 'My sister visits me in my dreams. Her soul is trapped in the catacombs of Ravenloft, pleading for me to set her free. The Vistani took mercy upon the few of us that survived and allowed us to build a small village here in their camp a long time ago. And while we do not agree with their ways, we do owe the Vistani our allegiance. We are few in numbers, yet we live to see the Devil Strahd destroyed. Others have come and have marched on Ravenloft, even defeating Strahd, but he rises again. There is a story of the Fanes of Barovia. It is said the Fays know a way to permanently destroy the Dark Lord and restore peace to the valley, yet the Fays have long ago disappeared. Some say Baba Lazaga, who haunts the swamp, is the Water Fae, now the cursed Swamp Fae. There is a mysterious stone circles. I know of one behind the old windmill near the forest. Another is said to be in the swamps of Berez, and yet another in the foothills southwest of Barovia, where the Druids once lived.' Now he turns around and he opens up a chest and he pulls a dagger out. I'll show you the dagger. It's Kasimir's dagger of the Dusk Elves. It's pretty cool. He hands the players the daggers. 'Take this dagger to help you on your journey. Seek the Fanes of Barovia, learn the secret of the Fae, and find a way to restore them. If you restore the Fae and learn their secrets to destroy Strahd, return to me the dagger, and I will join you on your march in Ravenloft, for I wish to plunge the stake in the heart of the devil myself, and let my poor sister's soul rest.'" That is, woo, that's Kasimir's engagement in the story with the player. So you kind of learn about the Dusk Elves, you learn of Strahd, you learn of Kasimir's sister. He tells you about the Fanes of Barovia, and he's going to give the players this weapon. It's his knife. He wants it back. Once you restore the Faes, you bring it back to him. He'll join you at Ravenloft, and he's willing to die. I mean, he just wants a chance, and he's looking for somebody worthy to march on Ravenloft, and he deems you worthy. Now, this short metal blade, it's a pretty cool looking dagger. When you roll a 20 on your attack roll, this is a magic weapon. Your crit deals an extra 2d6 worth of damage. And if the creature is undead, it deals 1d4 radiant damage. So this is a 1d4 radiant damage on any undead creature. Plus on a 20, it does an extra 2d6 worth of damage. Kasimir wants his dagger back, but he's giving this to you, entrusting you to help you restore the Faes. You bring it back to him. He's going to join you on probably a suicide mission for him to kill Strahd. So this is Kasimir's story and Kasimir's blade. He is a spellcaster. There's another thing in here is Kasimir's book. Let me show you that. It's pretty cool. There's a spell book in here. If the players find the spell book, I've added that in here too. Here it is. I found an elven word called Durgil, which means dark star. It's a spell book. The players can learn any spell out of the spell book. It's in his hovel. These are the spells that are in the spell book. It takes 10 hours to learn any one of these spells. So it has Arcane Lock, Comprehend Language, Hold a Person, Identify, Locate Object, Non-Detection, Polymorph, Protection from Evil and Good, and Wall of Stone. So this book is sitting on our shelf. I call it the Durgil. The spells are all written in Elvish, so the players will have to read Elvish in order to decipher them. And if they do, if they are of the right school of magic and of the right level, they can take 10 hours to study and learn one of the spells out of here. And if they befriend Kasimir, he will let them go ahead and study spells from his spell book, the Durgil. So that is it. That is it for the Vistani Camp. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the two special events, the Chingary and the dance. I thought this is the map here is just gorgeous. Oh, I don't know if I showed you this. Let me just show you really quick. So I have the horse assets around here. These horses are all characters you can move, and DM Andy made some colorful horses here. These are rideable horses. So these other ones are the draft horses, they're for pulling the wagons. These other ones are the riding horses, and there were two colorful ones. So I thought I'd make one Luvash's horse, and the other one, more of a kind of a Mustang one, is Arrigal's horse. So I have those horses around the outside of the Vistani Camp. So that's the Vistani Camp in Vallaki, the Dusk Elves story, the 2 special events. I really hope you enjoy this module as much as I enjoy putting them together. Make sure you please click like and subscribe, hit that bell icon so you can be alerted to the next Curse of Strahd guide video. If you're interested in being a Patreon member, there's a link down below. Until next time, maybe I'll be in my permanent location. I'm operating out of an Airbnb right now. I hope to be out of my permanent location soon. Until next time, may all your games be super fun and all your rolls be critically successful.